Wait, the meeting is being recorded.
We are being recorded. All right, let's call the meeting of what's today? 25th, January 25th, Police Building Committee to order. We have a quorum. We'll figure out all the attendees later. And Joe, are there any comments from?
No public comments.
No public comments. Okay. And as far as the minutes are concerned, everyone get a copy of them, had a chance to look through them? Has our part-time English professor, Paul Foley, had a time to run it through your spell check, grammar check, and proper cinnamon check? Yeah, I think there was something about it too.
I tell you what, I got a couple, but I'm only going to do one. All right. Under page 2, under 4, E, all right, lower level utilities, etc., is turned over. All right, that's fine. But after over should be period, and then demolition, the next sentence should be the next sentence for the capital D. There should be 2 sentences.
Okay. Or you could put it in a semicolon potentially.
Well, I would make it 2 sentences just because it's that's the proper way to do it.
You went to public schools too, didn't you, Paul?
Well, there's a couple tenses that are off, but I left those. I'll talk to Joe about those later.
Okay.
We went to the same high school.
Yeah, we did.
We went to the same high school.
We
But,
did. Norwich Free Academy. We did.
Apparently, I didn't have a good English teacher, I guess.
Yeah, my English teacher was long gone by the time Joe got there. Right.
All right, move that we approve the minutes
With changes.
with the changes,
Yes.
with the capital D.
I second it. All right. All those in favor?
All right,
All right. Thank you, guys. All right, here we are, general business and updates. Gene, do you want to lead us off, and then we'll go to service comments?
Sure. We have some budget reports to issue that really address kind of like the status update of where we are. Just generally, we're stable on the GMP and the soft costs. We're still floating around the $29 million. We are digging into the contingency a little bit to, as we talked about last meeting, for the temporary cell construction. So I dug into the contingency a little bit, and there are some site-related issues that have come up that Ty can get into a little bit. But overall, we're okay. Schedule pushed out a couple of weeks, I think, given that short delay in the construction of the temporary cells, which delayed the construction, demolition of the building a little bit. But otherwise, pretty stable. I think so far so good.
I mean, from a big view, top-down view, nobody wants to eat 15. I'm just throwing out a gross, broad 15%-ish of our contingency so far, plus or minus, close enough, right?
More.
Yeah, a little more. But I'm a glass half full guy. 15 to 20. Yeah, okay, 15 to 20. Emergency, which is obviously a happy place. Not terribly unusual in big projects, but not a happy place. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that the first, the biggest risks are the first couple of months. In a job like this, mainly renovation, demolition, we need to get through this next 2 or 3 months here, which really will discover, will have the biggest potential impact. And we want to be conservative, and we are being conservative about how we manage that right now. So we're taking worst case scenarios on a lot of the stuff that Turner's kind of projecting. So we're looking at making sure that we don't be too aggressive about where we would stand. So my job is to project end of the project cost.
Mm-hmm.
And with Turner's help, we're meeting every other week to review all that. I think we have finally a good rhythm set up. We've met many times just to set up the protocols and the reporting and how all that documentation comes together. So we're in a good place, I think.
So I would just add to your schedule comment, so that we have two schedules on this project. The town schedule was 2 years, it was 18 months for construction,
Yes.
and Turner came in and said that they can do it faster. So when Gene says it's cost a couple, 4 weeks in the schedule, that's from the accelerated schedule. So we're still in fact 5 months ahead of schedule.
Yes,
So
thank you for bringing that up, Joe, because whenever I talk to people about timing, that's the point we continually have to make. No, we're on the record for 2 years, which includes, moving snafu, moving van breaks down, and, the colored carpet that we wanted didn't come in on time, so it includes all that stuff. 2 years is what we're telling people. Would we like to do a little bit better than that? Absolutely. The Turner 13-month construction schedule is not, that's their construction schedule. We're all in favor of it, but that's not what we're on the record.
There's one glitch in this. If they blow that, the general conditions will keep running for as many days or weeks or months as they go beyond that, which will raise the cost significantly.
Yes.
So just staying within the window of time is not success.
Mhm.
Success is doing the job in that window of time in the budget.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are contractual obligations that Turner has to meet. It's from lack of coordination and scheduling, then it's not, the town doesn't pay that cost.
Mhm.
If it's for delays in product procurement or other things that are site-related conditions, then yes. And don't forget that, when they're finished, you're not turning in the next day and moving in.
Right.
There's going to be quite a bit of a transition period, just like it was to move out, to move back in, to get.
there's like 911 goes back over, the furniture,
Yeah, it's months.
commissioning, and it is a police station, so we don't want to move in with a big punch list, because it's not the same as, just as similar to a school. We just don't have a bunch of contractors going into a police station. So
Exactly.
there's a little bit of that on the back end. And to further Gene's point, in your point, that if we expand the schedule, there is additional costs. If they extend the schedule, they have some contingencies in their schedule to deal with that.
So based on this discussion, we ought to have this job done at least 3 months before that period, so they can move in, commission, transition, and everything.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, Jean, on your report then, we have, construction start 12/4/2023. We have current completion 1/15/2025. Should we have another line, just this your executive summary, that's sort of the, project, end or project move-in or something like that, just to show, sort of like, so people aren't expecting that as of
Yeah.
January 16th, the police station is going to be up and running in its new location. I'm thinking we just want to add another line there.
So in our original schedule that we presented, we had a closeout, a commissioning closeout furniture item. So I think your suggestion is very valid,
Very good.
and we should add that to the
We
report.
want to indicate in that period of time, whatever it turns out to be 90 days or 60 days, what has to happen in there. 911 transition, commissioning of all the components, and completion of all punch list items. It's all going to be done before the EOJ.
Yeah, I mean, we can put together, when the time comes, a little completion schedule.
Better for the public to understand the whole scope.
Yeah, I like that idea, Penny, and so I'll, for the next report, we'll include that. Project completion, we'll have construction completion, then we'll have a project completion.
Yeah,
Right. I don't want anybody on this building committee thinking that they're off as of next January.
Not off till the final report is in.
That's right.
Yeah, and if we could just show in that portion of the report, the original projected being like, it was November, basically 25, at one point, so.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
We
Yeah.
did the original projected, so we're actually, so they show that we're trending ahead of schedule.
Yeah, it has
The original projected.
Oh,
schedule.
a scheduled completion. Well, we have a planned completion, which
Right.
was the 12/13 date that Turner had originally on the schedule.
but that's not.
But that was the construction only, the overall town project was, the 18 month
Oh.
from the
Oh,
start
I
of the
see what you're
project. So
saying.
I mean, not that, so it matters more, not really for the progress of the construction, but it matters we originally were gonna do this project and be finished 6 months later. And I just don't want the narrative to be that we're finishing 4 months late instead of 5 months early.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Defining the terms is gonna be critical. We move-in date versus construction completion
Yeah.
versus, whatever.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. This way there's no confusion about what that date.
Right. It's a very good recommendation. All right, Todd?
Sure. So we sent out the monthly report. This was based on very early January data date. So some of the information on the financial backup behind it is not completely in sync because we were sort of working through the format and the process with Joe and Jean. But for starters, is there any questions on the overall monthly report? I'm happy to sort of do a deep dive. If you have any questions? I think the sections are pretty self-explanatory. I think the most important ones are sort of the summary, the milestones, the executive summary at the bottom. The cash flow is really more for information. That'll be more relevant as we get further into the project to see whether we're ahead or behind of our targets. We always have something on safety just because that's important to us. Fortunately, no accidents thus far. And then the pie charts on the right just sort of give you a visual and a numerical representation. But the backup that we have has a little more detail on that. So as I say, it's a little bit more involved. So if we look at that, you'll see that we have some placeholders for some of these buckets. So if we can, we'll go to the backup. And the first page is what we call the PCO, which is the potential change order. Potential change order log. And so we've listed here the items specifically that have sort of come up onto our radar. And I think some of these are well known to you. Some of them are probably, somewhat, you might be aware of them, but we haven't necessarily talked about them in detail. Taking it from the top, so the ASI 1, we got some documents, new documents from Brian. And so, anytime that happens, we assume that there might be some cost associated with it. So we assign a value. This was a lot more clarification. And let me just sort of stop there. Larry is our project engineer, but in this case, he's also sort of serving as our estimator. It's not something he does full time, but he wants to assign a value. To have a description with no dollars is not really helpful. Then we're not really evaluating what the impact is. So Larry's doing really a seat of the pants estimate. It's a very preliminary number. As this moves from left to right, it gets more refined. So he gets this ASI, he sends it out to all the subs and say, okay, hey, this is new information. Take a look at it. Let me know if there's any cost impact. But before he gets anything back from the subs, he'll sign it. His seat of the pants value. So he gave $10,000 to that. The next one, okay, this has changed a little bit since I last saw.
So are you going on to, I have a question about the PCO page.
Yeah.
So where are we showing, just for building committee, when the building committee has approved it?
When it goes to approved. So you approximate, pending, and approved. So
Okay, so
approximate.
we've already approved. Are we gonna have to vote again then on item 4, the temporary jail cell? But we've already voted to approve.
Right, that's not the final number. That was an order of magnitude. Frankly, that's gonna come in lower from what I hear from my guys. So, and until, this also sort of links to, you know, when we're gonna send change orders to our subcontractors. So we wanna make sure we have the final number documented, and then we'll turn around and issue the change orders to the
So then,
subs.
can we add then just something to this that shows the ones that I don't think we have to vote again on that as a building committee. I will just be delighted that you brought it in under the 253.
Right.
You know, for example, we voted on the 253, we haven't voted on the 80,000.
Says it right.
I think we voted on the windows for the 49. So just
Yeah.
some, just for us to show, add a column that shows what, not,
But if you look at the comments, we tried to sort of anticipate that.
In the comments.
but it's not showing, but I think we've approved other ones, that it's not consistent in the comments.
Yeah, there's a little typo in the comments.
Approved.
Yeah, it looks like there's one little typo in the comments. I think
It's
the
moved down.
rows just got mixed up a little bit, the columns there, the rows.
Right, but it doesn't, for example, it doesn't show that I mean, if you want to add it to the comments, that's fine. I mean, if you want to show,
Yeah.
I think we voted as a building committee on the 49.
Yeah.
There's a typo in the thing, Penny.
What?
Previously approved.
There's a typo. The approval is up one line from where it should
I know, but
be.
I think like there's some, for example, I'm sitting here, I'm trying to remember which of these have I voted on and which am I gonna have to vote on in the future, right? So I'm looking at the 10,000, the first one, the code review update set. I think we voted on that, but I'm not sure.
No, you didn't. No,
We haven't?
no, the only ones you voted on are the windows and the jail cell.
Okay, so then I just think once we've voted on it, we should have something that shows the committee approved it, so we
Will be
know,
in
looking at
column.
this. What?
It'll be in the approved
She's
column.
asking while it's in process.
Well, it's
yeah.
in process.
Comment in there which says it's been approved by the committee, even if
I got
it's
you.
the
Probably
final.
best handled in comments rather than adding another column.
Can you add another column that says committee vote or something like that?
Well, it says previously approved.
No.
It's wrong right now, so let's fix it for next time.
Okay.
No, it doesn't say, but it doesn't say previously approved for window type B, which I believe that we also voted on that one.
Correct.
So I don't think it's a big deal. I was just trying to remember, like,
No, we'll add that annotation.
Yeah. Again, just in terms of terms, approved changes is, you've already qualified that as what it means, so why don't we use slightly different wording instead of previously voted, something like that. It's
Right,
compared to
okay.
approved, just so
Or-
we're not using the same
There's
word.
two approved, so we
Yeah.
need to separate those two.
Right, that's what I'm trying to do.
and maybe, I think
Forward
on mine,
and
you're gonna-
final cost, it's really.
Something like that,
Okay.
yeah.
Because we're approving something even before the final
Right,
cost.
right.
Approved final cost, yes.
Okay, the next one is the window. Now, something changed on this. What do we, the second piece, we postponed or what?
No, we didn't postpone it. So you were previously approved for 49,000, you're for 50,000 even, right? For a committee. This is a good example. 50,000 for the committee. The change originally came in at 49. They field measured, they realized it was a larger window, so it went to 53. So we have a change order that we need to vote on for the windows again. Again, I was just for the process of having you guys vote on it basically a second time, because it was an optional item. It went from 50 to 53. So it exceeded the
Yes, so
53.
technically we should vote on it again. Right,
Correct.
yes.
Like technically, we would have the other value in the approximate or something, I guess. I don't know. So
Is that our?
What's the going number? Yeah.
Is that our?
Which is what we have.
So now we have a hard number of $53,000 that we should vote on if at some point.
Are you ready?
It's not gonna change from 53.
Not going to change from 50. Well,
No, we have a sub number. The drawings show the window X size. We measured it, it was, feet different.
So according to the meeting that we mentioned last night on F on FOIA. If we want to put a vote on the, we have to make a motion to put an item on the agenda if we want to vote on it.
You're good.
So I move we put an item on the agenda to vote on approval of the windows for the north and south stairwells.
Penny, you second that?
I second that.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.
Now it's on the agenda.
Now it's on the
Now
agenda.
I move
So we
that
changed the agenda, amended the agenda, yeah.
I move that we approve the 53,000. With the final number?
Larry, what's the final number?
713, 53,713.
For the north and south stairway windows.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.
So just to follow through, thank you. And just
Thank
to follow
Thank you,
through,
by the way.
to follow through on that, so what will happen next is, now, I will sign off on the actual change order, and it will go over to the approved changes side with 53, it's a real number, it's what a contract will be adjusted for.
The next one, we're gonna relocate or reuse the evidence locker that we bought for the temporary facility. And we're just gonna move that over, so we were able to eliminate that from the scope that was originally on the drawings. And so that's a savings of $5,500. The next one we've, I think, already talked about, and that will, as I said, I've talked to my guys, they'll be processing that. And that'll be part of our January bill with the final number, but it will be something below that value.
And it will be below that value, so there'll be no additional action required by the building committee, and I'll be able to process that.
Right.
Unless anyone
We're
wants to.
talking about the
253.
What about the delay item?
That's the next one, right?
Mhm.
Maybe?
Did we vote on the delay item?
No, you did not. You did not approve it. And what's actually happened since then, it was a month on paper, but when we went and updated our schedule, we actually had a little more time in there, thinking that we were gonna find more asbestos. So the actual start of the demolition of the rear addition was only a 2-week differential. So, you know, that's still, that placeholder, I would say, would be cut in half.
Mhm.
But I think Joe's
So it's
position is
gonna
we
be
want to
30.
wait, instead of funding it now, let's see where we end up at
Yeah,
the
have
end.
more of
Well,
a realistic number.
I would actually, no, I wouldn't like to wait till the end. I would like to, you know, like, again, it's math
Yeah.
for us. Let's do the math now.
Okay.
If it was, you know, the crew that's there, cost them 2 extra weeks, let's just calculate
Okay.
that, go through Gene, and let's get that over into the approved column.
Okay, very good.
So we can go to that in 2 weeks.
Yes.
So the next one is, it's a cost, there's $0 there. Again, our PCO will track any change, but some of those changes go into different buckets, and we'll look at the backup sheets, and those buckets are what we call holds, which are things that we know about, but we think there might be some exposure, but it's not really defined in a document or something like that. Then we have allowances, which are things that we know about, but we don't have precise value, so we hold a bucket of money for that. And those are all your costs. Anything that's unspent goes immediately back to you. And then contingency. So we put a little code on the left there, AL allowance. So so that, it shows 0 here, but on the back of one of the backup reports, you will see there will be a number in there, but it doesn't change the bottom line of the project. And then exterior wall framing. So up in the upper level, we started the demolition. We noticed that we took the sheetrock off the walls, and there's some perfectly good metal stud framing there. And we look at the drawings, and they say, we're gonna take that down and put new framing up. So we asked Brian, why don't we just save this? And he said, yeah, looks good to me.
Yeah.
So this is again, our guesstimate of that value, and we will get that refined and get the feedback from the drywall contractor.
Is that just on one floor or is that on several floors?
That's just the top floor.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That framing was put in 2008.
Yeah.
So it's new.
And then, it gets filled with, spray foam insulation, so.
I assume the only reason we took the sheet rock off is so we put in new wiring and.
Exactly.
And the plumbing that might be necessary.
Okay, so that's the, what we call the PCO log.
Before you go into the next, we need to get these approved then. The vote should move forward with the credits or?
No,
No,
they're not real yet. Those are just placeholders. So once it gets to the pending column, when we get the sub input, then we'll come back to you with the real number to approve. And then.
In the backup, and we'll send it over in advance.
Gotcha. So the next page is the holds report. This is really an accounting of all the holds that already are in the GMP. Most of them are just placeholders. Again, until you see something in the one of the following columns is when we'll have an approximate value against a hold. Like the next page on allowances.
Okay, so Ty, just so I understand this report, what causes you to place something? There are how many? There are items totaling 336,000 on this report. What causes you to place something on this report in the, for the amount that's in the original contract?
It's something that, from our experience, there is exposure and there's a potential cost. So we just don't want to say that, it's not going to happen. And we don't want to buy it from the subs, because once it's in their contract, then it's whether it's spent or not, it's gone. So we do it here so that we can manage the costs a little better. And if there's savings in one, either apply it to another, or at the end of the project, it goes back to you.
So, and then just in terms of like, when we're looking at it, when we think about it, what stage of the project this might happen, like, are there times when when do you close these items out? I'm not saying any should be closed out now, just like going forward.
A lot of these are very sort of trade specific. So it might relate to, some exposure when during the demolition, or it might be some exposure that we expect when we're doing startup of the HVAC system, or coordination with some steel. It's you got to sort of go one by one, but
There'll be various times. Okay.
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah, when the sub finishes, the risk goes away.
Okay.
So question.
Yes.
Is any of this contingent carried your contingency, or is this also spill over into our contingency?
No, this is part of our GMP.
Okay.
Some people look at it as it's a layer of protection for sure. So that
It's within your GMP.
right.
It's in addition to what the contingency is. These are, the holds are, you almost want to think of those as
known
unknowns. We do down once filled. The allowances are, the allowances are known unknowns. The holds are unknown unknowns. And the contingency is really just on another layer below that. So the allowances say we know this is going to happen. We just don't know how much of it's going to happen, right? So we put a bucket of money for those things. We anticipate that we're going to spend money on abatement. We didn't end up spending that, so that became a positive. The hold is something we anticipate, but it's just a gut feeling. We do the same thing. Probably gonna be a little bit more blocking than we thought. We're gonna carry some additional money. We don't want to throw it into the subs bucket yet because it's unquantifiable.
But it's the attorney's point.
Yes.
That's the key.
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
So your allowance.
He has all
That's
that.
the key point for the committee.
So the next one, the allowance report, you'll see we do have, we've spent some of that. So on the right, we have an approximate of 10,000 against our allowance of $15,000. And that was, we asked the question, well, what happens with all the extra furniture and stuff that's left behind? We know there's going to be some. We don't know if it's one dumpster or 10 dumpsters. So we put 15,000 in. And right now, it looks like we did pull out, I think, 4 dumpsters. So that's gonna be about $10,000. So that's the placeholder, and then now we'll get the final tickets from the sub, and then that'll move from right to left. And then if we don't spend, if we only spend the 10,000, then we'll write a deduct change to the GMP, and you'll get the other 5 back. And that'll go back into your contingency.
So this report, which has the negative 10,000, is where the negative 10,000 came on your front, your summary page?
On the PCO report, yes.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
On the PCO report, yes.
Which took the allowances to 95,000.
Well, it's item number 7, but there's $0 here. Yeah, okay, yeah,
It's
the
wrapped up.
lines are off, Larry.
It's wrapped up to your house.
Yeah. Right, so it says it's 0 in the cost, but in the description, it's the 10,000. Yeah.
Right, so then on the cover page, we had the original value of 85, and then we had approximate 10,000 deducted up, it's a 95.
No.
That's what it shows on the top page of this.
Top page, the 80,000 is for staff. The description should be a line below it relating to the furniture. Yeah.
Yes.
No, I was back to the page 1 of your report, that's all, but it's not, I don't need to figure it out.
Oh, on the monthly report, yes. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct, absolutely.
Anyways,
Yeah,
just a.
yeah, that's right. The formula on the front should be, this should be 75, correct, yes. The allowance on that. For some reason in the, in the thing show 95 instead of 75.
So that should say, so that's,
Yes.
all right,
Yes.
so it's actually 75 then.
Yeah, yes,
It's a
yeah.
formula we're going
It's the,
with.
yeah, the formula that we have to work through that one.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, 'cause I liked it getting better, but.
Yeah. And then the last one is the contingency report. So we have 703 in our contingency and nothing's hit it yet. And just speaking to that, we also, I think let's just go back to the allowances. And we also had an allowance for some additional abatement.
You should be under that, right? Was it needed? Let's see.
Maybe it was in the hole. Larry, where do we have the additional funds for abatement? I thought it was in the allowances. Larry, you there?
Yeah, yes, I'm here. Yep.
Did we have a bucket of money for additional abatement? I thought it was an allowance.
No, we did not. That was not in our allowance. We don't have that.
Okay.
But we didn't need it, right?
Well, we needed a little of it. We found that there was some vermiculite in one of the walls of a bathroom. It was sort of bizarre that you would typically have an exterior wall.
Didn't we have some number in for abatement already?
We had for everything that was known. Then we opened up the wall and all of a sudden all this vermiculite poured out.
Right, and there might be a couple areas upon further investigation that was determined, there was some areas that were assumed that upon the second visit where we were able to gain access, that there were some areas that it was recognized that it was not. So we're gonna work with our abatement contractor and reconcile all the pluses and minuses to understand what we have with regard to that. So we might be able to have some offset from some of the assumed areas that are in the numbers.
You should definitely get a little more of a detail.
Because we didn't even know of anything, so we shouldn't have put in an amount for something.
No, but there you always find stuff.
I agree with that. We should have had a number to include thought that we would find some things that were not
So-
obvious.
So we have money in the soft cost for additional hazardous materials on site, which would cover additional abatement inside the building or any soils, unsuitable soils that we anticipate we're gonna run into something outside the building. There was, to my understanding, there was a $50,000 allowance in Turner's contract at one point, and so
That's what I
We gotta
thought.
reconcile that.
That's
we
what I
have to
thought.
reconcile that.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it's covered,
Yeah.
it's covered.
Yeah.
Either way, it's covered.
We didn't go in naked, we knew some of them.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, we would never go with zero expectation.
Okay, all right.
So that's, we're at the beginning, and, obviously we have a little polishing up to do, but that's gonna be sort of what the sheets that we're gonna be looking at going forward. We'll be talking about certain items, one meeting, and then we'll summarize them up for the next meeting.
So, Chief, how are things working from your point of view?
Good, we're fully moved in, the temporary cell's up and running and operational, we've put it to use already. And
Yes, I heard that.
It's, it's increased our efficiency as far as being able to pull people over and move people down to Norwalk rather than pull people off the shift and leave the shift shorthanded. As the patrol officers had mentioned, that it would be more suitable for them as far as operating efficiently. So we've had a couple of runs where we've had some people arrested and gotten them down to Norwalk. We were able to hold them temporarily at the cell, so it's working well. It's working well as anticipated, but everything else is working well over at 39 Locust. A few items pop up. The roof is leaking like a sieve, but yeah.
Just follow right down the whole thing.
No, it goes right into the evidence room. So
Do you think it's when they took the communication stuff off?
I don't know. Yeah.
I believe so. They've been fairly responsive. I'm
Is that-
Yeah,
I'm
oh, yeah,
disappointed,
yeah.
I'm disappointed that it's still happening in that.
Yeah.
But the Plaza Realty has been really responsive.
Yeah, no,
They don't want to do it.
Yeah. So no complaints there, or through everything, but, we were just, got the final dumpsters and porta potties moved out of the parking lot, so we've got back a couple of spaces. I know parking is a priority over there. We're trying to manage that and kind of level everybody's expectations in the neighborhood, but so far it seems to be getting, okay, we're moving in and everybody's getting used to us being there, so I think it's working out well.
What's happening at the site?
Yeah, that's, Scott's gonna give a report on what's happening.
Yep.
Scott, did you hear us?
Yep, you ready for me? Okay, yeah. So I guess I'll just, I don't know if you want to walk through the building or trades. Well, let's walk through we'll walk through the processes. The upper level is, the attic is demoed. We've removed all the attic MEP equipment and that has been removed. So we got an open attic and we're preparing for the next round of work up in the attic. On the upper level, it's demoed. We have the flooring contractor is starting today, getting a delivery of the floor leveling. So we can start leveling the floors up on the upper level, that's about 4 or 5 days worth of work to prepare the existing wood floors to receive the new finishes, which will then start us and give us the opportunity to start framing and doing our layout up there. So that's a good thing that's happening up there. That'll be this week into next week. Down on the main level, we are really focusing on removing the last little bits and pieces of the mechanical systems so that we can continue with cleaning that area out. This week has been focused on separating the rear part of the building from the main building, we'll call it. Again, knowing that these were both one building as they were built in the 20s. So we've cut the roof, separated the roof from the building. We've separated the walls on both sides on the north and south side of the building. And we are now currently cutting the slab of the second floor or the main floor so that we have an easy, clean separation between the two buildings. So by the end of the day, today, we should be, for all intents and purposes, separated between the two buildings. We have some temporary protections up for safety as well as for weather. But we're in good shape continuing with that. We have all of the MEP systems have been shut. The gas is shut off. The water is shut off. We have a hose bib for work with the trade contractors just so they have water. The sprinkler has been separated and shut off at the street. So that's good. And we are and the electric. So we've gotten letters from all the trade contractors. We've given them to the building department. My conversation with Brian yesterday is that we're expecting to receive the demo permit for the rear building and the building permit for the main building today. He was working out of his house yesterday, so he was working on that for me, and will get that to me today, as he said. So we're in good shape going there. The weather has a couple challenges on the site work. It gets a little muddy in the rain and the melting snow and ice. So we're a little bit slowing down a little bit as we prepare for the site fence that is supposed to be starting probably Monday. There's just the weather and the mud. It would create more of a mess than it would give us what our intent is to have a clean installation. So, I'm sorry?
Yeah. Can you tell us about the sewer, the EMS, Scott?
The EMS has been separated from the sewer line. We installed the force main, I believe, last Wednesday. We tied in and separated. So the force main runs from the existing ejector system at the EMS building and ties into the new sanitary manhole in front of the police station. So we are separate from the EMS. The road is, we've backfilled it, compacted it, and we are preparing to receive, again, pending the weather, and if we can maintain a somewhat appropriate sub-foundation, subgrade for the binder course of asphalt. We plan on putting asphalt down tomorrow and opening up the drive back to the EMS. Again, with today's weather and what might be happening tomorrow, that might push out a day, but certainly if something does, I'll let the team know, and I'll send out my email as I did to everybody that the EMS drive may be delayed a day.
Rather than 2 Saturdays, so take advantage of it.
So other than that, we have the equipment is getting delivered for the demo today, the machine, the grapple. We are maintaining egress around the building for the EMS vehicles until the drive is open. And all of the fiber, low voltage EMT conduits that come from the street pole and feed the EMS building as well as our building have been installed along that drive as well. Trees have been removed, shrubs have been removed. Again, we're preparing for the site fence to come in. We are also preparing, I spoke with Joe yesterday, in trying to get a time to remove the generator from the site so that can be taken off site, which will allow us to continue some of our underground. Next week, we're going to be working on excavating the front of the building to start addressing the waterproofing on the front of the building, and continuing with the site work down around the north side of the building to get down to the next ejector for the sewer. We've got about two weeks of separation of the building.
Scott, hold one second, please.
I'm gonna have to leave in a second. When you do the site work on the front, make sure that the fiber line is marked. It was not marked the last time, and it was therefore cut. It runs basically from the north side of the generator out to the street underneath the paved area.
Correct. Yep. We've traced that all out. We've identified it. We've hand dug between our driveway and the sidewalk. There's that grass area. We've hand dug and unearthed that conduit. We've placed stakes where that conduit exists. And we had a GPR company come out and did some GPR layout for the site. So that while we're driving these fence posts, we understand where things are. The front is basically to focus on the front again. Yes, is the fiber, gas, and electric. Along the sides and around are some incidental light circuits that go to the light poles, et cetera. So we think we have a good grip of it. Certainly, we're gonna continue our efforts to manage that.
Yeah, and then the one other section of fiber is that the town's WAN it goes into the building, but it also continues down to the school. So whenever we're doing anything between next to the sidewalk
To the school or to the cottage?
to the school down the street, it continues down the street.
Correct. That fiber like runs, we've determined that there's a couple conduits there, but yeah, the one conduit runs past the front of our building and
Down the
doesn't
street.
terminate at the pole. It runs already past the pole, again, up towards the school, yes.
The loop is actually, there's a box in the future driveway, so that's something we're gonna have to address. It's just a transite box, and we're gonna have to either move the box or make it a box that we can drive over.
So there's multiple fibers, there's 3 different fibers that go into the building, so you might be thinking of a different one.
Okay.
I was speaking specifically of the town's WAN continues to go by the building. It's tapped into there's a node that goes into the police station, but it also continues down as our overall town fiber owned WAN that we have.
It should be in conduit like mark level 3. It is every place else, so I'm pretty sure.
It's in a conduit, but there's no tracer line. So the town system does not have a tracer line on it, so you won't pick it up with traditional stuff.
Wow.
So that's why it's important to know.
Can I ask a quick question
Sure.
of Scott?
Yes.
Just to be clear, when you say, so tomorrow looks rainy, so you may or may not be able to get the driveway paved, but when you say an extra day, is that Saturday or is that Monday?
Well, again, pending, how severe the issue is that doesn't allow us to pave, we would need to allow for a little bit of time for it to dry and,
Right.
Be suitable for this binder course. So we're gonna monitor it today. We're gonna walk out there at the end of the day today, check the weather, and that'll determine if
Well, I doubt it'll be Saturday, Tom. There's only one asphalt plant that's open in the area, and we don't want to open it for one truckload.
That's my point was if you can't do it tomorrow, it's likely going to be Monday, and I should tell them that.
Yeah.
The other question is parking. I assume, and I want to get your confirmation, and I hope this is right, that only EMS vehicles and EMS personnel will be parking on the south side of the building once you
That's
fenced off that lot, right? You won't
Yes.
have any other workers there or anything, right?
No,
They'll be in the
our-
back or whatever.
correct. Our workers are relegated to the back. We have about 21 spots in the back here that
Right.
we're utilizing for our guys. We're gonna start doing our double parking. Everybody comes at 7:30, leaves at 7, leaves at 3:30. Double park everybody in. We're gonna pack this lot until it gets to a point where we may need to go elsewhere. And again, there has been conversation about sharing some parking maybe up at the church or elsewhere, but we'll get into that as our workforce grows.
Super. Okay, great. Thanks so
But
much.
yes, nobody in the apartments, nobody at the cottage, nobody at the daycare, and nobody at EMS. That's our policy.
Super. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Scott, I know we've been talking about the sort of the town hall meeting with all the neighbors. Do you have a target for that?
I do not, next week is a target. I've gathered a couple of the information. There's a couple of numbers I'm trying to get, but I'll get that established for next week and I'll make that happen.
Probably the end of the week.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other construction questions?
How are we gonna advertise that?
We're just gonna call them up.
Okay, all right.
Do you have a contact at the condominium complex across the?
Yeah, we do.
When you say condominium
The
complex.
one
we
just south
have-
of the church.
Right.
Yeah, I talked to somebody initially.
Yeah, because I have
So,
a friend who lives in there. If you need one, let me know.
Yeah.
I'll give you Barbara Stewart stuff. Next year. Keep her happy.
okay. Yeah, so I mean, big picture, we talked, there's exposure in the beginning of the project to contingency. I think we've been very lucky, particularly with the abatement. And we did some soil sampling and around where the old tanks were, and those came back clean. So we've done a little bit more sampling on the back, but in the front, then it's all good.
And we hope the weather holds for it. Let's face it, when the community decided to do this renovation, one of the big reasons we're doing this renovation is to waterproof that, basement and stop the deterioration of the front foundation from water damage. And, we obviously, to do that, you're excavating down, we're gonna deal with the windows that are down there and do what we can do. And so we want to make sure that, that's another, I mean, maybe you guys don't consider it a risk, but whenever you're digging below grade, messing around with foundations, I consider that a risk. But, we hope that goes well. We hope the weather holds for that.
They also identified 25 square feet of asbestos on the foundation. I don't know how they came up with the 25 feet, but once we expose that, we also have to see whether our new waterproofing is going to be compatible with whatever's there.
Yeah.
So that'll be something that will surface in the next week or so.
So
That's important.
I'll chime in. I apologize. So we are excavating Monday. I have the roofing contractor, the waterproofing contractor is coming out Monday. We're going to examine the condition of that material, that hazardous material that was applied. We're going to check and confirm its stability. We're going to see if we can overlay it with and encapsulate it. And then we're going to see what it takes to clean it. And hopefully by the end of the day, probably by the end of the week, we'll have a better idea of how we're going to handle that in our efforts. If it needs to be removed, then that's a different conversation. But right now, our intent is Monday. We're meeting on site. We're going to expose it and investigate it to see the viability of encapsulating it.
We've also had a meeting to sort of figure out how to get rid of the cupola. So those wheels are turning. We're going to take the top part off sort of in one piece and then disassemble the bottom part that just gets rebuilt.
So Larry, you're gonna have, back to the excavation, you're gonna have Fuss and O'Neill there on Monday?
I probably won't have them there Monday. Fuss and O'Neill is aware of it. They know what's there. So it's really just us taking a look from a means and methods application of what's required by the details. If we see something that is questionable, certainly we will include Fuss and O'Neill. I don't want them to come out just for the sake of coming out. If I have to also be diligent in my recognizing expenditures.
Who's gonna make the call on whether or not you remove it or encapsulate it?
There's two things that are going to drive. A couple things are going to drive that. One is its condition. Is it adhered and non-friable, so we can apply over it? And is it in a condition clean enough that we'll be able to receive our new product? So we want to do a little investigation before we get Fuss and O'Neill out here. Fuss and O'Neill's objective was, does it contain asbestos? Is it hazardous or not? We know that answer. So now we're trying to minimize the costs and exposures. If we can leave it there, then that's good. If we can't, then we'll work with Fuss O'Neill on the removal process through our contracted asbestos abatement contractor.
But Scott, Fuss is coming on Tuesday, aren't they, for the boiler?
Yeah, and Fuss is going to be here on Tuesday. That's correct for the boiler. Yeah. So if we're exposed at that time, he'll take a look. Again, they kind of know what's there. It's just now what's the condition of it is going to be going to drive our ability to either remove it or leave it in place.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I just want to know, because I mean, anything we leave in place, we just have to note so that in the future, if it's ever disturbed, people have to know that it's there, and it makes any future work a little bit more complicated. But I'm not saying it's not the right thing to leave it there.
No, correct. We're working with. I'm in touch with Miguel regularly, and I actually spoke to him twice this morning. So we're keeping him in the loop again. If we can minimize his visits with purpose and dollars, let's do that.
Okay.
And comment on the cupola, we're removing it to build it exactly the same out of modern materials. The thought being that it's gonna save us money in the long run, not having to get up there and paint it. But if it's gonna cost an extra $50,000 to take this silly thing off, we're not gonna mess with it then. We're just gonna say, well,
We bought it to
Yeah.
take it off, yeah. Well, they actually had the option, whether to disassemble it or take it off in one piece, and they came back and looked at it, and they decided, yeah, we're gonna take it off. Top part in one piece.
any other questions?
For that town hall meeting, do you need anybody from the police department there with you guys?
I
Is it
don't
worth-
think so. It's really just, if you have a problem, this is the person to
Okay,
call and, just sort of show them the logistics with the fence and. just-
Okay.
It's really,
It happens
driven for the neighbors,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then we can always post that, whatever documents you share, we can post that online.
We did have to change our gate arrangement a little bit because of that fiber box that's in the new curb cut. That was gonna be our construction entrance, so we would be separate from the other people, but we don't wanna be driving over that fiber box, so until that gets sort of refigured, we're still gonna be coming in through the common drive, and then in time, we'll migrate.
Any other comments? Motion to adjourn? Thank you, Penny, I second. I can't second. Oh, yeah, thank you, all right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On that meeting, I fly out on Friday for 2 weeks.
Thank you,
So
have a good night, drive safe.
Thank you.
we'll just get someone else from the committee to be there, and I'll make sure someone from the church will be there. So, and actually, some